Hello everyone, we're going to be doing some primary sketching based on William Morris's work. I've set myself up with some paper, you'll be working in your sketchbook. I've also taped mine down, so apologies for the reflection. I've gone outside and I've cut myself some foliage, don't need a massive amount of it, I've just gone for this much. I've taped that down as well. I've got my title, William Morris Primary Sketching at the top, and I've got myself a nice sharp pencil. The other thing to remember, of course, is I'm not going to be holding this pencil like I'm writing with it. I'm not going to be holding it like this. I'm going to be holding it much further along the pencil like this to get a better lower angle onto the pencil, especially when I'm shading. Just remember those rules of sketching. We make sure that we don't press very hard. So if we make a mistake and we need to rub something out, then we can. Holding the pencil like this really helps with that. If you hold the pencil like this, you automatically press harder. We spend a lot of time looking at the object that we're trying to draw. We don't spend a lot of time looking at what we're actually drawing. The next thing we do is we look, then draw a little bit. What you don't need to do with this task is you don't need to memorize all of this stuff and then cover it up and then try and draw it, because that's really, really, really difficult, and I don't think you'll be able to do it. You constantly look at what you're trying to draw and then draw a little bit and a little bit and a little bit until it all starts to make sense. Once you've drawn something, check that it actually looks like it should. So here we go. I'm going to very roughly sketch out the shape first. I'm going to sketch out the stalk here and then the position of all the little tiny leaves, and then I'll get filling that in with some detail. I'm going to be pressing reasonably lightly. If it doesn't show up particularly well, I'll have to press a bit harder, but for you guys, of course, don't press very hard at all. So I'm going to start off here with this stalk, which goes in here, and then I am going to have to press significantly harder so you can see. There we go. So I'm pressing much harder than I usually would. So there we go. There's the rough shape of the stalk. And now I'm going to put in some little circles in here so that I can tell where. Yep, I'm going to have to press really hard. You guys don't need to press this hard. Some rough circles so I can tell where these leaves are going to go. Okay. There's another one in there. And I'm looking back at the plant all of the time, so I know where these things are going. I'm checking. I'm not looking. Every time you see me pausing sketching, my head moves so that I look at the plant itself. Okay, so I think there's another little tiny one in behind there. So this is the position of my leaves, roughly where they're going to need to go. So I'll start off with this one here, and I can draw this up. I'm going to have to press really hard now so that you guys can actually see. You will not need to do this. So I draw this. You will not need to press this hard, should I say. Draw this across. That slightly curves up like that, and then I have this. From my viewpoint, I have this plant, this leaf coming around in a shape like this. Just make sure you can see that, if you can. And then this one comes over here into a nice curve, meets it there to about there. And this just sticks out a little bit, around a tiny amount. Yes, you can still see that. And then back round to there. So now I've got the basic shape of that leaf in. I'm going to draw in a little bit of detail here. I'm going to draw in the sort of the central line down the centre of the leaf there, and I'm going to start putting in these little parts that stick out. You have to ask a science teacher what they're called. The sticky out bits. Up to there. This actually sort of folds over itself, so I'll put in a bit there, and there. Okay, what have we got over here? So like I said, every time you see me pausing, it's because I'm looking at the plant and I'm looking what to draw next. So from the centre there, that goes right across to there. And there's actually a tiny bit sticking out of the bottom there, so I'll put a bit in there. And then this one comes across to there. Oh, this one actually splits into two. There we go. Right then, so that is clearly I've had to press much harder than I usually would, and if you've seen me in my lessons, you know that I don't press very hard at all. But I've had to do that so that you guys can see on the camera what I'm actually doing. So let's go continue up. This comes all the way to somewhere like that. This part is a bit of breaking there where I snipped it off the plant. Then I'm going to come to about there. And I can see the smallest amount of stalk sticking out there like that. And then from that point it comes nearly vertically downwards, curves around, bit of a weird bit of the leaf there, comes quite straight across. Then it's got that nice curvy part up to about there. That isn't quite so nice and curvy on the other side, a bit more lumpy and bumpy. Round to there, background. So there, then a really straight part across, and then actually in here it's quite difficult to see, but there's a folded over part there which blocks over. So now again, the detail, I'm going to put in that central part. There's one going up there as well. There is one also going up to there, and there's a little tiny one going up to there. There's one coming up the middle, which goes over to there, and so on and so on. Okay, there we are. And that will meet up there. Okay, right then, continue this up. And then from here, there is a leaf that goes across. So I've got to draw the leaf in first this time. Draw this across. Can you still see? Yes, you can. My washing machine has just gone to spin cycle. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. Down that curves around, and then it curves back up. A little bit of a sticky outy bit, and then that joins in there. Looks a bit weird shape, that doesn't it? Okay, so from here, this middle part curves around down to there. This one goes up to there, across to there, across to there, another one across here, one in the centre, one coming up to there, and then some little ones in here, one in there. Okay, right. A little bit of stalk upwards, like that. Then got this really odd, actually no, it's not really odd, I don't know when I said odd at all, I mean really sort of perfect profile of one of the leaves here. It's really flat facing towards me, so we can see it sort of perfectly the shape. No folded over bits or anything like that. Curves round, curves round, curves round. There we go. Done that bit a little bit too big, and this is I suppose this is the disadvantage of me having to press so hard. So if I've made a mistake here, in there, like that. That's an error. That area is. If I wasn't pressing so hard, then I'd be able to rub it out. This bit is also a little bit of an error. That should be a bit deeper in there. If I had if I was able to press a little bit less hard, I'd be able to rub that out. Okay, continues up. There's a bit of stalk sticking out, which then curves right around. Really thin part there. That part nearly connects up with the stalk. It comes back under. This part goes over. I'm going to stop it there because it becomes part of the next thing. Now there's some very faint, actually, some very faint little lines in the underside of this leaf. So I'll just carefully put those in. Make that a bit dark so they stand out a bit better. Yep. Then this one, the stalk comes right out of the top. It's very short like that. And then this curves right round to about there. And because it's on its side, I can actually see very little of it, to be honest. There we go. Can't really see any proper detail in there, so I don't worry too much about that. A little bit in there like that. There we go. What next? Just the last. There's a tiny, weeny little sort of baby leaf on top here. So there, there, and around to there. Okay, all right then. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, add some shading in, just really try and define these areas that need defining. Notice that I'm holding my pencil right on the side now for shading. Parts of the leaves are going to be darker than others. So particularly in there is quite dark, particularly under there is quite dark, and that bit definitely in there is dark. The rest of these, this one is quite light, so I'll just put some very light shading over there, but the rest of them are all quite the same tone, which means they have that bit is very, very dark. If they're all the same tone, they're all sort of the same shade, the same darkness or lightness. So I'm going to quite a flat tone here, so I'm going to put in some shading across there. This would be a perfect opportunity if I hadn't pressed so hard to remove the guidelines that I had to put in to start with. But this has really started to look about right now. I'm going to put in some more there because that is a lot darker. Actually, just that bit on, that bit oddly. Okay, right, there we go. I think I'm happy with that. I think we'll leave that there. So I've done a primary sketch from life with the intention of turning these skills later towards a William Morris style piece of work. Good.